Notre Dame football recruiting fans, thank you for joining me here again on the channel. My name is Brad Hughesby. Today we're finishing up the target board, going to the defensive side of the ball, and what better way to start than with the defensive line? Notre Dame already has two defensive linemen committed in Brennan Vernon and Keon Keeley, both top 30 players according to Rivals. This is huge. Mike Elston has developed some great bonds with both these two guys. Um, and both of them look locked in. Vernon more so than Keeley. Keeley has removed some mentions of his commitment on Twitter and whatnot. Is definitely still talking to other schools, but if Elston and Freeman stay, I expect him in this class, and I do think they're going to stay. David Hicks, number 2 overall player according to Rivals. This is Notre Dame's a dark horse here. People just think he's going to end up at Texas or Bama or Texas A&M kind of automatically, but I would not say that. Mike Elson has done an incredible job here. I saw somewhere he talks to him daily, making him a top target. I mean, we'll see what happens. You really want to try to get him on campus, and if you can, that'd be nuts. I do believe he was on campus sometime this summer, so that's good, but I'm not 100% sure on that. Jason Moore is next, 4-star defensive tackle from DC. This is another guy that Notre Dame needs to get back on campus. I think he's going to take his officials in the spring, and then might decide from there. Older brother is Justin Moore, shooting guard for Villanova. So very talented family, goes to DeMatha Catholic. This is a school that Notre Dame needs to be recruiting very well at. So yeah, we'll see. But I think Notre Dame gets that one done. And then Kendra Gilbert is next. His older sister plays basketball for the women's basketball team at Notre Dame. Gilbert just rose a ton in the Rivals rankings. Is a top 150 player now. Don't think he's a take. Pretty wild to say a top 150 player is in a take, but I don't think he is. We'll see. But you already have Keeley and Vernon committed, and they probably only have 2 more spots. Devin Houston is next, another guy who's been rising fast. I really like Devin Houston. I really, really like his athleticism. His brother is Caleb Houston. We have 3 players on this screen alone, Jason Moore, Kendrick Gilbert, and Devin Houston, who all have older siblings that played collegiate D1 basketball at powerhouse schools in Michigan, Notre Dame, and Villanova. But Devin Houston, one hell of a player. I'm really, really excited for him. Just kind of started playing football last year, maybe the year before that. He's from Canada, so really raw, but has already had a few offers, and I definitely expect that he gets some more. Next, this is the athlete section. All these guys are defensive except Mikhail Harris Pilot. I think he's probably a wide receiver at the next level, and Jackson Howard can play D end or tight end, probably more tight end though. I'll start with Sam Mpemba though. My picks in for Notre Dame. Do not feel confident about that. Don't take that with much. Mizzou, Oklahoma, Bama, all really, really involved here. Gosh, I could see this one ending up at any 4 of those schools. He's from St. Louis. The appeal to stay home is real, but at the same time, he left St. Louis to go down to IMG Academy. He's actually roommates with Carnell Tate, major wide receiver target for the Irish, that I feel like I talk about in every single video. But Mpemba's a freak in his own right. Can play tight end, D end, outside linebacker. Can play pretty much anywhere on the defensive side of the ball. Notre Dame's really high. We'll see what happens. Visits will be key. Nicholas Harbor is next. This is another just freak athlete. Is probably one of the top track recruits in the country out of 2023 guys. Oregon, Oklahoma, Michigan, Notre Dame are a few schools to know here. Notre Dame hasn't really been recruiting him all that much. They were really focusing on Sonny Styles. Of course, that did end up happening. Sonny Styles is, by the way, enrolled at Ohio State right now, if anybody's curious. So that one's over, but Nicholas Harbor, we'll see. Jackson Howard is next. My pick is in for Stanford. Don't take that with much. He says he's going to be committing soon. I have no clue where he's going to end up. I don't think many people do. He's played this recruitment very close to vest, but his father played football over at Stanford. So that's why my pick's in for Stanford. We'll see. Notre Dame is in his top 12. Mikhail Harris Pilot, don't see much going on there. I think he ends up at one of those Southwest schools, but Michigan has offered Ohio State too, I believe, Notre Dame. He's a very, very fast guy, track athlete from Texas. We'll see what happens, but I think he stays in the Southwest. Preston Zinter from Massachusetts. I like him a lot. He's a very, very solid player. I think he's a defensive end at the next level, probably strong side, but can also maybe flirt around with some offensive line linebacker. Can honestly play a lot of positions. That's why he's an athlete. His older brother, Zach Zinter, former Notre Dame target, is an offensive lineman from Michigan. So my pick is in for the blue for the Wolverines, but we'll see what happens. Jair Hill is next, another guy who I have slated to end up at Michigan. Just recently got an offer from Chris O'Leary. He's from Kankakee, Illinois. Has a few offers. I expect him to get more for sure, though. Has some really good size at 6'3". We'll see what happens, but very early for him. And now we head to the corners. This is an exciting group. Very exciting group. I also want to note there are a few guys as I skip to the safety side that can kind of play both, that they're tweeners. But Notre Dame already has two corners committed, or excuse me, DBs committed, and Justin Rhett and Adon Schuler. Both those guys are locked in. So you can't take everybody. Malik Hamid is first. I actually think Notre Dame leads there. Top 70 player in the country. Texas A&M, Texas are two more to know. In that recruitment, Christian Gray, top 170 player according to Rivals from St. Louis. I also like Notre Dame to land him. I do believe he's a take. And then Caleb Presley would be a huge acquisition as well from the Pacific Northwest. That's going to be a harder recruitment to win. Hasn't been to campus yet, I don't think. Maybe he made it in June, but I'm not completely sure. Had a good visit to East Lansing. Of course, probably saw those Pacific Northwest schools, Oregon, Washington, maybe even USC this year. We'll see. Very early, but don't take my USC pick as anything. Okay, now for the DBs. Ryan Yates is first. I do not believe Ryan Yates is a take. Yes, you heard that right. Top 50 player is not a take. He'll probably drop a little bit lower, but that's just my opinion. Peyton Bowen is next. Peyton Bowen, in my opinion, is a top 25 player in the country. Just an absolute freak. This dude is a 5-star, in my opinion, and a lot of people agree. I do think Peyton Bowen ends up at Notre Dame. Distance from home might play a little bit of a factor, but I don't think that's I think his parents want him at Notre Dame. I think his heart's at ND, so we'll see. But I honestly would not be shocked if he commits here before March or April. And then Adon Schuler is next, top 200 player, according to Rivals. This was a weird recruitment. Came on campus, was offered after they saw him work out, loved him. He pretty much just blew up over the summer. Penn State and Maryland were also in his top 3, but committed to Notre Dame. Has only continued to rise in the rankings, and I'm really, really high on Adon Schuler. He's locked in, and then Micah Tease is last. This is an Oklahoma ND battle, 100%. One that I think the Irish can win, but with the new life with Brent Venables and whatnot, I don't know if they will. We'll see what happens, but this one's probably more like 50-50. But before the Brent Venables decision, I thought Notre Dame had jumped out to a pretty substantial lead. But yeah, that's the video. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'll have some more videos out shortly, and